1000 events back-to-back. I don't know that you won them back-to-back today, but you know what it takes to really compete in those.
I was going to say, thanks for the compliment. But no, I don't know exactly what it takes to win those 2 titles. But I did actually win 2 titles back-to-back, not of that quality, and it is brutal even at that other level, the lower level.
To be able to produce 2 title runs in a row is one thing, but the Masters 1000 events where the top 50 are automatically in, and you don't have the sort of bye circumstance you have in a major. You're playing, maybe you get 1 day off, but once you get to crunch time through those latter rounds, you're playing the biggest, best players all in a row, and then to come back the next week and do it all over again with only a couple days rest. You play 10 matches if you're seeded in order to get those titles over the course of 14 days. That's 3 more than you would have to play to win the title at a major.
It is an impressive feat.
Love
Well, I'm glad you concur.
I'm just jealous, that's all.
Harrison with his first inroads against Nadal serve. He's had no problems. He had won all 4 of his points on first serve previous. Second serve's letting him down just a bit here for love 15. That's really nitpicking, isn't it? But nonetheless, here's Harrison, who's a very confident young man. Really steps on the court and believes that his game has started to coalesce, worthy of taking on the top players in the game. Whether or not he can sustain it over the course of an entire match, particularly best out of 5 sets, that's the big question.
Got to think that ball just held up on Harrison in the wind. The wind's coming from his back a little bit, it looks like. Footwork, especially aggressive footwork, is so important in the wind because you can never just plant your feet and rip. It's always the many little adjustments to get that ball in perfect position.
And that's a great point. I mean, you talk about obviously everybody's making adjustments. If it's windy for everybody. But who amongst these elite players has the best footwork in that regard? I mean, you've got Murray, who's the great retriever. Nadal, who's the great scrambler. Djokovic just has great anticipation as well as movement.
I think you'd have to actually break it down by shots, forehand versus backhand. I think we have a lot of guys that do it very, very well offensively on the forehand side. Nadal being one of them with those big blistering forehands. On the backhand side, the wind kind of favors versatility because that ball does move around. So I think maybe the better wind players off the backhand side would be like a Federer or a Murray who do go to that slice often. Keep the ball low, keep it out of the wind. Not really having a whole lot of racket head speed on the slice. So, the ball doesn't matter if the ball deviates a whole lot.
That there's a former U.S. Open champion that lives in that area. Somewhat necessitated the move, or at least sort of moved it along. Andy Roddick makes his home there, his wife Brooklyn. Ryan moving there over the course of the last couple of years to train with Roddick, or at least be mentored somewhat, a little combo platter. And there's a serve somewhat reminiscent of what Andy was able to produce, and he hasn't lost a point in his last 7 on serve. 134 miles per hour. You do the quick math, Taylor. In kilometers per hour, that's what?
I think it's just under 216.
Sounds good.
That's an impressive miss. That ball that Nadal hits off that forehand side is just so heavy. It's so tough to deal with. You have to fight his ball off. You know, some guys you can kind of smooth it back. If you don't feel comfortable with the scenario and the point, you can just kind of hit a nice smooth shot. With Nadal's, you do that. The heaviness of the ball just demolishes the racket control.
Yeah, well, this is somewhat synonymous, this fifth game, of how it was in Indian Wells, when Nadal at times just seemed to have a little difficulty. Harrison bringing a lot of pace on his serve, trying to move it around. Harrison getting to a 40-love start, but Nadal was able to regroup. He's able to find his way through games, sets, rely on a couple of errors from his opponent, and Harrison in trouble once more. He's committed 7 unforced errors, and those are the ones that were unforced.
That's what he has to do. Unfortunately, to beat Nadal, you can't just do nothing with those balls that hang around the service line with no pace. And Harrison was lucky there. He actually hit that second short forehand, gave Nadal a golden opportunity to get back in that point, bring it back neutral. And that's just what I'm talking about with Harrison's game. Can he hit great short forehands? Yes. Can he do it consistently? Not yet. He can do that consistently, though.
He's got some power. That beats his best serve so far, fastest by 3 miles per hour. That's 137. Ooh, there's the calculation. You see that pop-up there on the screen?
No, I didn't. I didn't cheat that way.
No, you don't do that. You got that quick math in your head. Pair of aces. And he's trying to take down the king of clay. Pair of aces against king. All right, never mind. Second game for Ryan Harrison. Down a break early in New York. Opening point of the 6th game, Rafael Nadal broke to start the match, trying to keep himself out in front of Ryan Harrison of the United States inside Arthur Ashe Stadium on opening day of the 2013 U.S. Open. Happy you tennis fan have chosen to join us. Running alongside Taylor Dent here as we continue through what is going to be 3 days of men's first round action, as this tournament has scheduled itself a 15th day for the final, spreading out the first round for the men. The women's section of the draw, top half will complete, barring any sort of disruption due to weather. All their matches will be played in the top half of the first round today, bottom half in action tomorrow. Talked about the heavy pace of the ball, the forehand with all that top spin. It's just so heavy, that rotation, and it causes opponents to feel they have to do something quicker because they don't want to withstand that barrage for very long, do they?
Well, you can't. I don't care how fast you are. If Nadal's being allowed to wind up on forehands, nobody out there is fast enough to keep tracking those down. I mean, the guys who have success against Nadal are able to hit aggressive shots deep into his forehand and deep into the backhand and control the points, take time away from him. trying to win points like that against Nadal is just a low percentage proposition.
You keep fighting, they're going to come at times, but it's not something that you're going to be able to rely on. And it took something special. Nadal also letting it go, and he's like, oh, I should have played that.
Well, he's also kicking himself for the sitter forehand he had that he hit right to Harrison, and the sitter volley he had, he hit right to Harrison. I mean, he lost that point 3 different times.
It'd be fun to hear that internal conversation. Hit a better shot, no? Another example of Harrison just going for too much, really trying to put that ball on the line.
And again, it's just different. It depends who you're talking about. If he's on the other side of the court than Nadal, is that going for too much? I don't know. But if he's on the other side of the court for me, is that going for too much? Absolutely. Yeah, you know, he's not up against the wall with Nadal. If he leaves that ball in the middle of the court, he's still running.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. As Harrison misses long and Nadal has himself a 4-2 lead. But I guess in the context of that story, that's what Nadal forces you to do.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it any better myself, Kevin.
Back here for a moment. And then, all right, now here we go. This is where Ryan Harrison really has to step up, because it's no surprise to anybody. Another break here. Nadal's got this opening set in his pocket, and he's a runaway train when he gets the early lead. This is the strength of Harrison, his serve. He needs to perform here.
And this is the tough side for him to serve from. The wind's in his face a little bit, so the pace is going to be taken off of that serve. Again, it's so frustrating to watch Nadal and Federer, Djokovic, Murray, all those guys play, because they make very, very good players like Harrison look much worse than they are.
For service.
Yeah, it's pretty disconcerting, isn't it? When you know you've got a pretty decent skill set, but they make your opponent, with their level of play, make you just look pedestrian. Just very simple.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, there's been too many errors.
And that's one of Harrison's strengths. You know, let's say Nadal's not on the other side of the court. He does not make unforced errors. I mean, that's just a testament to his respect for Nadal.
I'm glad you clarified that, because that's exactly what I was trying to allude to, in the sense, because 11 is too many. Well, no kidding. 11 errors and he's down. But that's the case for Harrison, is usually he's pretty consistent. He's reliable in that aspect of his game of not giving free points.
That's one of his strengths, absolutely.
Hasn't ventured forward too often today, though we're in the early stages of this match. Best out of 5 sets. Just his 3rd trip to the net. Twice successful. You like his form?
Volleys are great. Yeah, he's great volleys. It's interesting because Nadal makes it tough to come to the net for 2 reasons. His foot speed, and obviously he's so dangerous with passing shots. He's so accurate. But in the same sense, you almost, a guy like Harrison and me, when I played Nadal, I had a sense of urgency to get to the net because it's the lesser of 2 evils.
Yeah, don't wait too long. Oh my gosh, I better get there because the ball's coming back quick. Harrison acquits himself nicely. Point from 4-3. That's a nifty exchange. They're delighted in Arthur Ashe Stadium.
I definitely think it's worthwhile for Harrison to experiment with some serving and volleying. And, you know, actually this may seem crazy, but this is a gift of Harrison's. He really anticipates very, very well up at net. He gets his racket on a lot of volleys. Or a lot of passing shots, I should say.
Yeah, he withstood the barrage, but only for so long. Third ace. He's averaging on his 3 aces just around 134, 135 miles per hour. Good pace, good placement. Make it a 4th ace. All right, fair enough.
So now what's the average?
134.2. And I know for a fact that's his first double fault, so whatever they put up there on the graphics screen isn't going to contradict. But it comes at a bad time, just when he thinks he's going to pull within a game. He wants to challenge it and see, but to no avail. Call stance.
Yes. Harrison has 2 challenges remaining. Advantage, Nadal.
Yeah, well, he follows his first double fault up at an inopportune time with his second at a disastrous time here in this set. Shaky ground for Harrison. Nadal 1 of 2 in break points today.
Harrison tried to, last boost point, tried to swing his first serve out wide and looked like he was coming in for a volley. Missed the first serve. I think I would give Nadal a healthy dose of that today. See if he can keep coming up with backhand passes off that first serve.
Nadal disgusted with himself. You see his reaction after he missed what was a pretty benign serve to the forehand.
That was right in the wheelhouse. You got to think he gets 9 of those, or 10 of those, 9 of them, he's going to not only neutralize the point, but be ahead.
Harrison gets out of a jam, faces down break point, which would have allowed Nadal to serve for the set. Instead, he's able to close the gap. 7 games on the board, set number 1.
4 games to 3, first set.
And we soldier on in their second meeting from inside Arthur Ashe Stadium. This cavernous building that will have a roof constructed overhead over the course of the next few years to help make it, well, immune to the scheduling problems that they've had in the past. Thus the 15 days of the schedule in 2013 and 2014. They actually padded the 2-week tournament with an extra day for the men to finish on that last Monday, a 3rd Monday of action. And revert back to the normal form of just a 2-week tournament, 2015. And they hope to have the roof overhead and completed by 2017, but they have said by 2018. Maybe the more realistic approach.
15-0.
The USTA has been trying to get a roof on this huge Arthur Ashe Stadium. For 8 years, they were saying they were looking into possibilities. They just were saying that the engineering wasn't there.
Well, it's so massive.
Technology, yeah.
To find a way to build a sturdy roof over this complex without just taking it apart. That was the vexing proposition. And the weight of this area, too, because the ground that it's on isn't necessarily totally solid and immune to adding extra weight on top of it could cause it to dip.
Apparently, once it's completed, it'll be 5 times the size of Wimbledon's roof. 5 times.
I think the All England Club's going to have roof envy.
I think they might.
Harrison trying to find a way to break point, just overcommits to the backhand, misses the mark for 30 all. And we'll have to see what that very inventive Twitter handle, Wimbledon Roof. Have you been able to follow that? Some of the funniest tweets in all of tennis world.
I told you, I've been slack on the Twitter.
Bet you there's going to be some comments made for sure.
Harrison is so quick around the court. Just again, there's no understating how accurate, how heavy, how fast Nadal's forehand is.
And you talked about the need for the footwork and the small steps, the adjustments in this windy condition. And he has such great speed. That step, the ability to make the small stutter steps to get into position, just overwhelming. Trying to smother Harrison here in this 8th game. Another great jump, and the angle for the drop shot for 5-3. Yep, there's already been a couple. Wimbledon Roof has said, so I hear I'm getting a new American cousin at the U.S. Open. Welcome to the family. Hashtag Roof expanding family. So no animosity as of yet. Another look at the speed of Nadal. Although there was reference made to what you're talking about the overall size. Oh, Wimbledon Roof wants to remind people of something. To those pointing out that my new American cousin will be bigger than me, I remind them the size is in everything. Hashtag experienced Roof. Harrison trying to stay in this opening set. Oh, there's some power. That's a beauty. It's not the fastest serve by any stretch, and it's tough to measure that at that outside angle from there. But 123 miles per hour, perfectly placed.
And that's the most important part about serving. You know, I hit a couple big serves in my day, but to be honest with you, the ones that don't come back are the ones that are placed well. I've hit some pretty big serves in the wheelhouse of you know, the top guys out there. Unfortunately, they seem to all come back.
I thought you were going to go out on a limb there with something that would have to be copyrighted, and the serves that don't come back are the ones that don't come back. I'm glad you finished it off with a little extra emphasis on where the placement is. It's like saying it is what it is. Profound. Harrison has done very well since being broken to start this match in defending his serve, and he's about to hold it love for a second time if he doesn't double fault away that chance.
Ball please, ball please.
I actually like that. When Harrison does get up, you know, he's been up 40 love a couple times in his service games. Let some of these forehands go. See if you can, you know, scare Nadal a little bit.
Harrison.
Big blast, half a dozen aces, but he still has to contend that are better when winning the opening set than Rafael Nadal. He has been phenomenal all summer long, all year long. 9 titles to his credit. He would love for his 10th title to be the last major of 2013. As he begins his campaign, opening round match, he serves for a 1-set lead over Ryan Harrison.
Ryan tried to make his way back up to the baseline in the middle of that point, and again, he's just got the wind in his face, Nadal's forehand in his face. It's tough to make solid contact.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing, it seems that win might portend to a little trouble as this match starts to unfold. Can't help but see that the skies overhead have turned a little bit darker. There may be a threat of that late afternoon rain, and Rafael Nadal wants more than anything to just try to get this match done quickly, at least certainly get this set under his belt. 2 points from doing so. Easy going relatively for Rafael Nadal. Never really tested, didn't face a break point, and he holds serve to take the opening set in 44 minutes.